Welcome back to Fabricating Awesome Stuff. In today's episode, we're going to fabricate a vent line for the crankcase on the AeroVee engine I'm installing on my Sonex aircraft. It's important that a vent line be installed to keep pressure from building up in the crankcase when the engine is running. So I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and thanks for watching. I need to fabricate a tube to use as a crankcase ventilation tube going from the crankcase right here on the top and through this hole that I drilled in the baffling, and then it'll come through here and then bend and go straight down to ventilate that crankcase. So I'm using this piece of welding rod to decide what shape I need before I try to mess with the tube. So this welding rod, you can see, is going to go through there, and so if I make it this shape, the tube will go around the oil cooler, through the hole in the baffling, and go straight back. Now, in order to be able to dismantle this to do maintenance in the future, I think it's going to be best to make this tube in two parts. So I marked it with tape right here. This is where the end of the first piece is going to go, and then the rear piece will go back here and go straight down. It'll have a bend in it. So then what I'll do is I'll use a piece of rubber tubing to attach the two together. And then it's going to be really easy to dismantle this and take it out of the way if I'm doing maintenance on the engine, because it definitely would be in the way if I didn't do something like that. So now I'm going to take this welding rod and we'll fabricate the front piece of tube. In order to start the bending process on the tubing, the first thing I did is I put a cap on one end and taped it, and then I filled the tube completely full of just plain clay kitty litter that you can buy at Walmart, and we use that to help keep it from crushing as we're making the bend. And so we put another cap on the second end, and we'll tape it in place because we want the caps to stay put as we're bending. Okay, we need to mark the tube where we want the first bend to start. I'll mark the tube right there where the first bend is going to start, and then I found a socket that has about the right bend radius, and so I bolted that to the table, and another socket to kind of use to pry against. Now I'm going to go ahead and heat up this tubing to make it a little bit more pliable. This is 6061 T6, which doesn't bend real easy, so I'm going to heat it up a little and see if that helps. Okay. We want the bend about right there. So we're going to start the bend. Just give it steady pressure. Okay, this needs to come starting about in there. Okay, now when we lay this down on here, looks like we've got the bend profile pretty close. And we're going to want to cut it off about right here. So we'll go ahead and empty out the kitty litter and see how we, after I cut this off, we'll see how we did. Okay, we'll cut this piece of pipe off and see how we did here. Okay, I forgot we wanted to cut it off where we had placed this tape, so we're going to mark that. Now let's try this piece. Here's a close-up of what we've been doing. We've got the vent line installed in the crankcase, and it's going past the oil cooler and through the hole in the baffling that I drilled. And then on the other side of the baffling, it terminates a few inches on that side. So I'll be adding another piece to that, attaching them together with a rubber hose and clamps. And that other piece will go to the right and then down along the firewall and exit out the cowling to vent the crankcase. So that brings us a little closer to where we need to be. Every step gets us closer to where we're going to be able to fly this airplane. So thanks for watching.